Due to recent YouTube updates, comments and likes have become more important than ever. I beg you to please consider doing exactly that. I read every comment that you write me and answer whenever possible and or need. I'm also open to suggestions for future content. My videos are created without the use of AI, so please support your fellow human content creator against clanker slop. Thank you. Water features were a rarity inside the garden center. However, they did exist, on the occasional basement floor. As it turned out, the company wanted to open multiple centers with different educational and entertainment purposes, using the primary complex to test out their future vision. This led to a mishmash of areas the toons that now explored it would be confronted with. And so, when you and your group left the elevator to be faced with tiled floors and walls, twisting dark hallways, and collections of pools of various shapes and sizes, it led to a sort of liminal horror to be felt by everyone present. Modular Pools Showroom? Read Gigi confused off of a sign, slightly withered, that faced the elevator opening. What does modular mean? You asked curiously, but your gaze shifted left to right. It means that the rooms here are interchangeable, started Astro. For investors and potential expansions. So they buy a module and then add it to their own floor plans. Gigi took a quick look around. No, twisted. But this doesn't mean this place isn't twisted itself. What do you mean? You asked. This is a maze. A maze of random rooms and hallways and pools. She said with an expression that both expressed bewilderment as well as amazement. So Jill would never see this. So no point in making it open and child-friendly, you concluded. Exactly, but the elevator spit us out here, so that means there is still some ichor extraction going on, so if we want to get out of this place quickly, we better get going. However, as excited as everyone was, when the first Twisted appeared, a massive pebble twisted, the entire group scattered and got lost. You were Tall Trails Toon, a happy little toon girl that was themed after the activity of wandering, traveling, and hiking. You were a peppy little thing, had rosy skin, big eyelashes attached to big round eyes, and a kinda small mouth that was perfectly shaped for whistling. You wore a large brown travel coat that covered you down to your knees, big hiking boots that despite their size didn't interrupt your walking speed, and brown gym shorts that weren't long enough to peek out from below your coat. In the show, you were a side character who occasionally made an appearance to bring the beauty of the world's countrysides to the eyes of young viewers. After being made real thanks to Iker, you were a quick runner with a lot of stamina. Though while you could outrun most Twisted, and you definitely were faster than many of them too, stealth, as well as operating extractors, was a difficult task for you. Though it seemed like this entire floor was better suited for running than hiding anyways. Since it were just tiles on top of tiles and tiles, and you leaned into another room. Half of it was dedicated to a pool so deep the water started looking black after the halfway point. There was a scaffolding for a lifeguard tower, and from the ceiling, water endlessly cascaded into the pool below, where the waves it created slowly washed over the pool's excess water vents. The splashing was actually surprisingly peaceful. You looked behind yourself, as if you were being watched, which you weren't, but the darkness this floor had in certain parts felt unnatural. Sighing, you stepped towards the lifeguard tower and climbed it, sitting down in the seat. And you stretched yourself. With Aaron lost, you were unsure as to how to proceed. But as your eyes wandered, you shook, pulling your legs up until your chin rested on your knees. From one of the hallways leading into the room, 2 red eyes had appeared. Slowly they moved, coming closer. You narrowed your eyes, sitting perfectly still, until, from the darkness, a twisted Goob peeled himself out of the shadows. He had both of his ropey arms dragging behind himself. You blinked at the twisted. Goob was walking towards another hole in the wall, leading into another black hallway. He hadn't noticed you yet, but you knew twisted Goobs possessed a great danger. Thankfully, the splashing water from the fountain muffled most sound, so maybe you got out of this alive. Your breathing and overall low stealth ability was oversounded. At least, that's what you hoped for. You pulled further back in the seat, to the point where your back was making a C shape. But then, Goob stopped walking. Rigid, he stood there for a moment, and then his eyes snapped to meet yours. His frown turned into a smile. How did he notice you? You crawled to jump off the tower, making a quick roll as the twisted already lashed out with his noodle arms. Bolting, you rushed into the darkness. Twisted Goob used his body to his advantage, using his rubber-like arms to stretch and grab, pull and wrap. Your boots squeaked on the white tiles of the floor. It's weird. You liked running, you loved it. But whenever Twisted was behind you, you hated it. You hated moving, you hated being obvious, you hated this. The splash of the seething fountain was still faintly audible behind you, growing softer with every frantic step. You moved through long hallways of pale blue tiles, the air heavy with the scent of chlorine and something metallic. Every turn felt the same, identical corridors leading into rooms with still pools, empty benches, and faint echoes that didn't always belong to you. Goob's arm snapped out again, the sound like a wet towel cracking in the distance. One whip struck the metal railing ahead, the vibration shivering down the tile and into your boots. He wasn't faster than you, not in a straight sprint, but he didn't need to be. Those rope limbs flung him between walls like a grappling hook, letting him slingshot around corners while you had to actually run. You skidded past a shallow wading pool, its surface perfectly still despite your pounding steps. Your eyes caught your own reflection in it, flushed, breathing hard, coat swinging with each movement, before you tore your gaze away. Looking too long into these pools never felt safe. You tried to keep your footfalls rhythmic, steady. That was a trick to long sprints, but it was impossible with the sharp smack of Goob's limbs striking tiles somewhere behind you. The sound bounced down the halls, impossible to tell if he was right behind you or waiting in the next bend. Your boots squealed against one wet spot, your momentum pulling you dangerously close to losing balance, before you kicked off into another long stretch. It opened into one of the larger rooms, rectangular, 2 pools on either side with a dry walkway in the middle. Dim underwater lights painted the space in shimmering ripples. The ceilings low enough to feel almost claustrophobic. Halfway through, something snapped from above. One of Goob's arms lashed out from a vent-like opening near the ceiling, barely missing your head and slapping the walkway beside you. Water droplets flicked across your cheek, warm compared to the cold air. You ducked low, pushing harder, every muscle burning. The walkway twisted at the end, forcing you into another hallway, this one narrower, walls closing in, the scent of damp stone stronger here. The sound of dripping water echoed slower, heavier. But he was gaining, not because of speed, because he knew these rooms. The next stretch had support beams overhead, just high enough for him to anchor and swing, cutting the distance between you in seconds. Your breath was ragged now, coat flaring with each stride. Somewhere in the maze behind, another pool splashed. You didn't dare look back. The hallway emptied into a chamber so large it felt wrong for something underground. Pillars rose out of the water in uneven rows, some thick enough to hide behind, others barely wide enough for a handhold. The entire room glowed with a faint bluish haze, the light refracting off ripples that seemed to move without any source. You could hear your own heartbeat now, or maybe that was the deep, slow thrum of water shifting somewhere unseen. You sprinted along the narrow ledge that skirted the left wall, boots splashing in ankle-deep runoff. Goob's wet footfalls never came in steady rhythm. They appeared in bursts, accompanied by the whip crack of his limbs anchoring two far pillars, letting him hurl himself forward in sickening arcs. Sometimes he didn't even land, just swung past, disappeared into shadow, then reappeared from a completely different angle. Your legs ached, your breath burned in your throat, but you didn't slow. You couldn't. Every turn in its place seemed to funnel you deeper, every path subtle curving away from where you thought the elevator had been. Even the air felt heavier now, warmer, the smell of chlorine giving way to something like wet clay. You cut across a thin metal bridge to another walkway. It shuddered under your steps, sending little ripples out across the pool below. Halfway across, a shadow moved beneath the surface. Long, thin, trailing bubbles. You didn't want to know. You pushed harder. A loud clank ran out ahead. Goob had swung onto the bridge's far end, blocking the only exit. You swerved to the side instead, vaulting over the low railing into a shallow maintenance channel running parallel to the bridge. The cold water splashed up to your knees, but a lower path gave you cover from his reach. For but a moment. You sloshed through, hearing the sound of his limbs anchoring again. A shadow crossed the tiled wall to your left, impossibly stretched. Even another snapped overhead, searching for you like a blind serpent. You ducked under a low pipe, twisting your body sideways to fit, your coat dragging wetly behind you. The maintenance channel ended abruptly in a vertical drop, a tiled slide slick with condensation. You didn't hesitate. You dropped into it, boots and palms squealing against the wet surface before spilling out into another pool room far below. The impact sent water splashing high into the humid air. You fought to your feet, vision swimming, only to hear it, the steady drip, 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 and then the faint hiss of stretching limbs above. You looked up. Goob was clinging to the ceiling, both arms extended, his body hanging like some wet marionette. One arm lashed out, whipping past you and striking the wall. The second came low, wrapping around your waist before you could move. The grip was hot, rubbery, and pulsed faintly against you. You kicked, twisted, fought, but his pull was relentless. Your boots slipped on the wet tiles as he began reeling you in, like a fish. The blue glow of the room swimming in your vision as your pulse roared in your ears. And then the pull wrenched you off of your feet entirely, sending you skidding across slick tiles towards the pool's black surface. You barely had time to gasp before Goob yanked you in. The water swallowed you whole, shockingly cold at first, then heavy, pressing in from all sides. Your coat billowed around you, dragging against your frantic kicks. Through the shifting blue light above, Goob's silhouette loomed, his limbs a tangle of dark ribbons. One arm cringed around your chest, pinning your arms to your sides. The other pushed down on the top of your head, forcing you deeper. Your boots scraped the tile-pool wall, searching for purchase, but was nothing to grab. Bubbles burst from your lips as you thrashed, twisting your hips, trying to roll free. Your lungs screamed already, the burn rising fast in your throat. You craned your head, straining towards the warped rectangle of the surface far above, a moving mirror you could almost touch in your mind but never in reality. The water muffled everything except your own heartbeat, pounding louder and louder in your skull. The glow from the overhead lights diffused into a pale blur, the edges dimming fast. Your chest convulsed, every instinct demanding you inhale, but the only thing waiting was chlorine and silence. Your kicks grew weaker, the arm around you felt heavier now, less like a restraint, more like a weight pulling you into the depths. Your fingers curled without you telling them to. Darkness bled into the corners of your vision. The wavering blue light above turned into nothing but haze. The pounding of your heart fading into a slow, distant thud. You were dragged across the wet floor, your body leaking ichor very faintly, boots wiggling with every movement. Goob's claws digging painfully into your shoulders, but just as you tried to move, a torrent of water began to vomit out of your mouth painfully. Your body breaking out into jolts of pain, but the Twisted didn't care. Roughly he shoved you against something hard and metallic, and too late you realized he was about to force-feed you ichor from a machine. You grumbled weakly, but his claw took a tuft of your hair and you were shoved into the metal hose, mouth first. For a moment there was only anticipation, and then, a squeak later, the thick chemical liquid was spraying down your throat. Your eyes rolled back, from one liquid to the next, but this time your body refused the mercy of passing out. You could feel it, feel the ichor spread in your body. Black tar spewed from between the corners of your mouth as the nearly endless rope of thick slime poured into your stomach. It didn't take long for it to be filled. It felt like your eyes were popping out of their sockets. Your belly swelled under the relentless flood, skin pulling tight beneath your coat until it felt like it might tear. Each gulp came not from choice but from the raw force of the pump, driving ichor down your throat, the muscles in your neck straining with every convulsion. A deep ache spread through your midsection, sharp stabs of pain riding on waves of crushing pressure as your insides stretched far past anything they were meant to hold. Your boots skidded uselessly on the slick tile as you tried to push away, but Goob's claws dug deeper into your scalp, keeping you pinned to the hose. Every second was another gallon forcing its way into you, the dense black sludge gurgling audibly in your gut as it churned and sloshed. It felt like your organs were being shoved aside, compacted into corners of your own body just to make space for more. Your coat pressed painfully into your sides, the seams pulling taut, every breath shallow and ragged. The liquid had nowhere else to go. It began forcing itself up your spurting from the corners of your mouth in thick black ropes, splattering onto your heavier chest. The extractor's vibrations seemed to crawl through your bones, shaking you apart from the inside as you swelled, helpless in Goob's grasp. Until something broke. Your mind completely shattered due to the ichor, and the moment you stopped struggling and instead grasped the hose hungrily like you were starving, the Twisted took a step back. Ichor was pooling out of your eyes as your body began to grow, but not because more liquid entered your body. No, it was mutating as you became Twisted yourself. Literally and figuratively. Your arms elongated, so did your legs, your body stretching, becoming lankier. And finally, the last drops ran down your blackened tongue. Your fingers tapped against the metal as you let go of the hose, using one of your enlarged hands for purchase. A new purpose made itself known to you. Consume. your eyes glowing a bright, almost searchlight red as you scanned your surroundings. You had become a size that made the twisted Goob look small in comparison. He just barely reached your bloated belly button now. Your coat, previously being more like a dress, just barely reaching below your elbows. Its zipper popped open. It almost managed to cover your chest. Your skin had faded in color from a healthy pink to a dull gray, and your shorts looked like mere underpants now. Your belly was still round from the consumed ichor, but rather than looking like a filled balloon, it was now a mere bump. Your long hair hung loose, like straightened string, dripping with the black substance. A gurgle came from somewhere, throat perhaps. Your gaze locked on Goob, instincts roaring louder than thought. Not gratitude, not recognition, just a deep, restless drive that made your spine arc and your new limbs twitch in anticipation. Your fingers flexed, the exaggerated length of them creaking faintly as your rubber hose arms swayed with an almost serpentine looseness. Goob looked up at you with those small red eyes of his, the faint grin stitched onto his plush face unmoving, but you could feel his attention locked onto you, curiosity edged with caution. You stepped forward, your elongated legs bending at strange, unnatural angles, every movement carrying a lazy, predatory gaze. The wet slap of your bare feet against the slick tiles echoed between the tiled walls, mingling with the distant splash of unseen water. You reached down, one long hand wrapping around his midsection easily, lifting him like he weighed nothing. Goob's rope arms twitched, curling reflexively toward you, but you pulled him closer to your belly, pressing him against a faint swell, there as if testing his size and texture. The scent of ichor clung to both of you, thick, metallic, electric, and chemical. Your jaw shifted slightly, teeth bared in something between a grin and a snarl. Every twitch of his plush form made that restless heat in your chest flare brighter, your grip tightening and testing. You tilted your head, studying him like a strange, fascinating tool. Or perhaps a toy. The tiles beneath you rang with each slow, deliberate step as you carried him backward towards the shadowed edge of the pool room. Your hair, heavy with ichor, swung around your shoulders like weighted cords. One long, looping arm coiled lazily around his back, the other sliding lower, pulling him closer still, every inch of movement deliberate and entirely yours to control. You shifted your grip, letting Goob's ropey arms drape over your own in a loose tangle. His stitched grin never moved, but the subtle tilt of his head and the slight slack in his body told you he wasn't resisting. Your oversized fingers flexed against his plush hide, pressing into the seams, feeling the faint give of the stuffing beneath. Each squeeze drew a faint creak from his fabric, and you swore you could feel a slow, reactive warmth in response. The animal part of you purred at that, though it came out as a deep, guttural gurgle that vibrated through your long chest. Without warning, you lowered your head, your teeth, now a little too sharp and a little too uneven, grazing the side of his neck seam before clamping down just enough to make the fabric stretch and indent. Not tearing, not hurting, just claiming. Goob's rope arms twitched, looping lightly around your shoulders, his own strange strength pulling him snugly against you. You leaned into the sensation, biting again, slower this time, letting your teeth linger while your hands explored more of him, tracing down his sides, feeling the subtle shifts in the texture of his fur, the flecks where rope joined his body, the way he angled his head, giving you more space, was all the permission that you needed. Your long legs bent so you could draw him higher against your body, the rubber hose stretch of your arms keeping him in place as if gravity itself no longer applied. His furred surface was damp now, not just from the ichor on you, but from the places where your mouth had left faint, darkened marks of saliva. You pulled back just enough to meet his gaze, red eyes locked onto yours, before curling your lips into something between a smile and a challenge, dragging him closer again. Your towering frame loomed over him, breath still thick with that guttural, instinctive hunger. Goob's rope arm slid, however, curling around your hips in slow, deliberate loops. He gave a light tuck, testing, and when you didn't resist, or reacted with aggression, he pulled again, fingertips grazing the waistband of your shorts. The fabric clung, damp from ichor and the humidity, but his hands worked with surprising precision for something so soft. One rope arm held you steady while the other hooked into the side, easing the shorts down over the curve of your hips. You tilted your head, amused, letting him think he was in charge. Even though you kept your stance wide and body still, you calculated. The waistband slipped lower, brushing down your thighs, and you felt the air bare skin in a way that made the moment electric. Goob's grin never changed, but his grip lingered as if savoring the small victory. You let him have it, for now, leaning forward just enough for your hair to spill over his shoulders, your eyes glowing brighter in the dim light. Hey, you reached the end of the video. That makes you part of an exclusive club. Our secret password for this month is Cats in a Cradle. Put the secret message in your comment below to tell fellow members you watched the video until the very end. Lastly, before we say goodbye, I want to take the opportunity and thank my channel members, especially my darling stewards. If you want me to say something silly here, just have a funny account name and join my darling steward tier and gain access to members only videos as well as early access to my videos. We have Anonymous Weep, Angry Boxman, Red Hearts, FNAF Queen Casey, ADHD Neptune, Adrijama, Malofia, Maxicat, Mystic Jade 111, Giovanna Moretti, and Twilight Mia. Thank you for being darling stewards, and of course, a big thank you to all other channel members. It's you who keep me fed. Goodbye!